some scenery or something. It's the first time I ever went live, but I don't think I was in it.
First time I ever went live on Facebook doing like a proper video, I forgot my name. I pressed record or I pressed go live, and then I went, "Hi, I'm Trish."
Yeah.
Name. But duh. Okay, so today's topic is the courage to be disliked and how rapport is not rapport.
Yeah.
You can reach some huge resistance when rapport is dropped. And we wanted to talk about how many people don't know when they're hitting that resistance or that barrier line. They don't recognize the signs. And some people also don't recognize the exit strategies or the place of not being reactionary. So relaxing and taking a bit more time to process the thoughts that something doesn't need to be reactionary.
Yeah.
But first, do you want your question?
Yes, 100%. We didn't get to have the question last time because I was away, but yeah. So I'm looking forward to the question.
Is it normal or not to recline your seat all the way back on a flight?
Totally not normal.
I don't think it should be allowed.
I don't think I've ever done it. I've wanted to because I've been uncomfortable, but I just couldn't do it because of the people behind me.
Yeah, same. Like a little bit of a tilt, maybe.
Yeah.
But some people they recline it and the chair is right there and you're like,
yeah, no, I couldn't even think. I couldn't even think about doing it. It's just, if there was no one behind me, yeah. But that's never the case on a flight, is it? They're usually pretty jam-packed. But yeah, if someone did it to me, I don't even think someone's done it to me before. But yeah, so I would say it's definitely not normal.
Yeah, I don't think it's normal.
Have to be very unwell, like they'd have to move it for back pain or something, or we could think maybe a little bit inconsiderate, I think, of people around that.
Yeah, I haven't had it happen. Well, I've had people recline a little bit, but not the whole way back. And I've seen those TikToks where people flop their hair over or, play with the window and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I've never had that happen. I'm not quite sure what I would do.
No, I haven't.
I do remember one occasion where there was a child behind me, probably about 3 or 4 years old, and they were just really excitable, super, super happy to be on the flight. And I kind of went, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. And I turned around and I looked at the child and I just started going like this.
Making them feel tired.
And after a couple of minutes, the child just sat down and it's like, I just recognized you.
Yeah.
That's all I did. I was just a soft smile.
Yeah.
Slow blinking. And eventually they settled down. And I don't remember what they did after that. So they must have gone to sleep or something.
Yeah.
So
I've definitely had cute little kids peeping around the corner and smiling and like that for ages, but that's okay. And if it's been going on too long, like you said, you can just close your eyes and they'll kind of get the hint.
So don't recline your seat all the way back. Don't be one of those douche canoes. It's as simple as that because it's yucky. All right, so let's talk. So just for some context, the courage to be disliked. When I first came into this industry, I honestly thought we were coming into a great supportive industry. I didn't realize how toxic it really, really was. And then as I pushed back towards that toxicity, I was the one that was projected as the toxic one because I was going, no, this is not right. You can't do that. And I told off some of the leaders. I ousted some of the leaders and the gurus. And I have segued away from actually nearly all of them because they don't have the courage to be disliked, to go in that different direction for a greater good.
Yeah.
So, and I know that you've come across this controversy as well.
I'll use it as an example. I really got I got slammed at the start of HNZ, I'd say, coming along, just creating changes that for me were kind of necessary, like having more of a community where you meet up, and do give support. There was a bit of, it sounds funny now, but there was a bit of backlash at the time from people in the industry that have been in for a long time. And even when I let people come and speak with HNZ on more spiritual, more open-minded topics,
Yeah.
I got a lot of backlash there as well. But for me, it was about, allowing all different facets of hypnosis and hypnotherapy to be seen, and people could choose whether or not they came along. But and at the time now, it's worked out a good thing, because there's so many members, and it's a community of well-rounded people, and everyone kind of does what they want to do. But it takes massive courage to actually just go, you know what, I'm going to do this and go with it. And a lot of people are not going to be happy, or they're going to be resistant to change.
Or they're going to attack you.
Oh yeah, massive getting attacked. It's like no one will ever believe, I think, what people experience at the back of organizations and associations.
I think if I hadn't released a few emails showing what I have received, and that's just the light and fluffy stuff, I don't think a lot of people would believe that there are actually people in our industry that would send those emails, let alone leaders.
It's massive, but at the end of the day, like I think the topic was being happy to be disliked, right?
And the courage to be
disliked. And I think if you, not taking things personally and just moving forward with the understanding that change is uncomfortable for people, and even if you're a hypnotherapist and you're like, even to be in the career that we're in, getting out there and starting to offer alternative methods of therapy for mental health, even things like with me going into the industry and saying, well, actually, a lot of anxiety isn't anxiety. These are memories playing up, and they're not going to be helped with medication. Things like that is stepping on the toes of people. And there are going to be haters out there, but at the end of the day, you become you're being who you are, and people will to you that kind of fit in or gel with you, and then people that don't will drift off and they'll have their own party. But it takes a hell of a lot of courage to actually.
And courage, obviously, is the hardest emotion in the world to choose.
Yeah.
Because you know that you're going to be walking through the flames.
Like I was going to say, like earlier, this, like when we talked about like the CHA and you starting it, like
how many times was I going to jump ship?
I knew that. Oh, it's no walk in the park. It's and for you starting it, I came into HNZ and it had been running for at least 10 or 15 years or more by itself. So it wasn't 100% a starting block.
Mm.
But I knew with you, like the courage to do that. Oh, holy moly!
Oh, I'm still pushing through.
Backlash. I'm still doing it now, but at the end of the day, it takes so much courage to do that, and that people are going to be annoyed and people aren't going to like it, and there's going to be haters. But at the end of the day, when you push forward and do what needs to happen and what's right for you, you create your own community. Or
the thing we're taught in Hypnosis 101 is that rapport is important, that if you reach resistance, then you have lost rapport. Yeah. And as much as I kind of agree with that, there is part of me that goes, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
Because you can still be in rapport with someone and have resistance and everything is still fine. And then you can be in rapport with someone, have resistance, and the whole thing falls down like a house of cards.
Yeah.
So recently what happened this is not even recently, this is about 2 years ago now, I think. And I had a girlfriend who sent me an email. Now, we've gone away on parties together. We've basically seen each other naked because we've stayed in the same room for weeks on end, going on holidays and all this sort of stuff. We've talked about very intimate topics, etc., etc. And then one day I got an email from her, and it said something along the lines of, "Hi, Trish, I hope this email finds you well. I have decided to blah, blah, blah." And instantly, I just felt rapport just go, blue. It's like, hang on, are we in that kind of a relationship? Are we? Is that what our friendship is to you. And I can understand it from her perspective, because she didn't want to take that connective way because she decided that this is what she was going to do. But right from that time of that email, we weren't friends anymore, according to her.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff really hurts. And
Yeah.
if she'd just come to me and she'd gone, hey Trish, I'm going through some tough times, I'm going to go quiet for a couple of months, we'll reconnect in the future, no worries. Still hurts, but at least you know, right, she's got to do her own thing in her own time. I'll give her space. That's what she's asking for. And then maybe in the future we'll kick it off again.
Yeah.
But she didn't.
Yeah.
And this happens so many times, like especially when, like in my community, I'm not the kind of person, and my mentorees know this, I'm not the kind of person that you send a Facebook Messenger to and you go, hey Trish, how was your day? So I'm going to use Fiona Snook as an example, because she is absolutely gorgeous and she'll get a kick out of this. So if Fiona ever sent me a message going, hey Trish, how was your day, blah blah blah, I would literally respond with, what's this how was your day bullshit, babe?
Yeah.
Because I believe, even though I'm your mentor, we still have this element of friendship. And relax and talk to me, because that provides better rapport and trust than doing the, I hope your day is well, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's because that's more of the um coming in and the beginning of the relationship, right? The more of the
Yeah.
and feeling out. Yeah, that makes
I
sense. Yeah.
also wonder if people don't know how to back off and exit when they are getting that resistance, because sure, you can be in rapport with someone and you can have those really casual chats that lead to professional bodies, or, you know, launching a product or something like that. But sometimes you can be having that conversation with a friend or a family member or whoever, and you just constantly get smacked down. So they've got an excuse for every solution that you've got. And I honestly think there are a lot of people that don't realize that you need to back out.
Yeah. And if we're going to go on into the therapy, the therapy setting of rapport is, I think they teach you about building rapport at the start, but saying that sometimes we don't have to keep on winning back that rapport. And sometimes learning that actually the right thing to do is to hand a client on.
Yes.
And to say and to go, well, do you know what, the things that I'm doing, I see, that connection, just the therapist client relationship isn't gelling the way it would be that's helpful for the client or even helpful for the therapist. When that disconnect is there, instead of just fighting to win that client back and to get the rapport back, and changing techniques and trying to fit into the mold of the client instead of you being the one of authority, sometimes the rapport just isn't there because maybe you're not the right person for that person. Maybe they'd be better off working with someone, you know what I mean? And I think that's where you're talking about rapport.
It's understanding the line also between rapport and trust, because they are two different things that work cohesively. So when we've got rapport, we can trust ourselves to say something. So just the other day, now Justine's going to laugh at this because she's got no idea that it's coming. But just the other day, I sent Justine a message and I said, you know what a small success is? And she's like, what? And I said, finally plucking that hair out of your chin that has been bugging you for like a week. I said, a 40-year-old woman, that is success to me right now.
And it's very satisfying.
And I trust you enough to be able to say that without you going, oh, Trish, you're such a fuckface idiot. Don't message me anymore. No. So I believe that we're in good rapport, and then I can give you my trust. So my Pandora's box, to trust that you'll never use it against me, that I'll only ever use it against myself. And that's the difference. And like, just last night, we came across a post on Facebook about an anonymous poster that had a client, and they had kind of given a case study story, but after I commented, more of the case study story came out.
Massive.
And this is where even us as therapists, we've got to realize that, yes, we have to be in rapport. That is, you have to do that. It comes with the territory. But you also need that element of trust and authority.
Yeah.
Because if you are not the authority, people are not going to trust you enough to help them.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned that before. And the way that this person was talking on the post, it was literally just, number one, the client wasn't receptive, so they didn't want the therapy anyway. It was based on the mother making the decision. There's obviously some other stuff going on that was outside the scope of hypnosis and hypnosis practices. And the client didn't trust the therapist enough to be able to reveal that kind of information that's uncomfortable. So me revealing uncomfortable information like, hey, I finally got that hair out of my chin, is the ultimate element of trust, where this client wouldn't even show her hands on the screen.
Yeah.
She kept telling the therapist, oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So that right there is red flag. You have got to recognize that the rapport has gone, the trust has broken down. You're not in their structure of reality anymore.
Yeah.
Have to segue to a better place for the client's health and for your own self-esteem and mental stability.
Exactly. Yeah. And with that one, that conversation that kind of went on yesterday, I would have come across as, I had the courage in writing that to be disliked, because I tell you what, most of the community will read that and think that I was being quite hard. But the reason why, like, once again, having the courage, what we were talking about earlier, to be disliked, for me, it was a something that was completely out of scope of practice for someone not working in mental health. And if you had trained in mental health, you would have known how to deal with that situation straight away. But it's a call also on supervision, the importance. And Trish, you've got courses coming up, advertising.
If that was my student, like if I knew that they were in CHA or something, I would be emailing them going, hey, book a time with me right now. We need to discuss this.
Exactly. And that's why I think it was anonymous. This really shows, like, for hypnotherapists that are questioning why supervision is needed, the amount of times people were coming on to hypnotherapy groups saying, I've got a client and they've got dissociative disorder, and at nighttime they're having nightmares so bad that they want to kill themselves. And I mean, that's pretty much trigger warning. But the amount of times we're seeing things like that on places where people are completely out of scope of practice, supervision this is what it's for. It's so that someone can come along and go, the supervisor will say, look, this is outside of scope of practice and really it needs to be referred on, and it's not safe for you or the industry. It's really not safe for the hypnotherapist.
And it doesn't leave our industry in a good place.
Yeah.
Like, we see some stuff and Justine and I just go, you're fucking kidding us. And we see some stuff and we just think, you know what, if we sometimes wish that it was monitored so that way we can get rid of those people doing that stuff, because there was no trauma before then. There was no problem before then. You had a healthy, functioning human being that just went with the flow of life. And when we talk about a healthy, functioning human being, we're talking about somebody who experiences anxiety and then knows to sit with it, feel it, have a shitty day or whatever, but then gets up the next day and goes on and doesn't sit in that shit.
Yeah.
They go with the waves of life. They allow themselves to feel joy and happiness and anxiety, sadness, but it doesn't become an ongoing, lingering effect. Now, that is a healthy, functioning human being. But then these people come along and tell them, hey, we need to rebirth you whilst I hold you and support you. And it's like, hang on, there wasn't anything there before. You've created this and now you're doing more damage.
Very, very
wrong with you.
It's quite scary, eh?
Yeah.
Just some of the things that are being done. And I think I think this is kind of why we have the association and supervision. I mean, even having supervision with someone like me or you, it's even ridiculously cheap. It's probably a quarter of what therapists themselves is charging for the session.
And there are people out there that will say, don't go with an association. They're just there to get your money and rot the system and all that sort of stuff. There are those people out there. And it's really hard to define clinical from clinical when people are saying that they're clinical hypnotherapists, but they're not registered with an association. The main reason to be registered with an association is because we make sure you've got your right police check, because you've got your first aid, because things go to shit. Trust me, you're going to want to have that you have that correct level of training. And if you don't have that correct level, talk to us, because we will do recognition of prior learning with you and help you across the board. And if something does happen, if shit hits the fan for whatever reason, you've got us in your corner backing you up. We have the courage to be disliked by all of those people that say, don't join an association, it's not worth the money. It's not about the fucking money. It's about protecting our industry so that way we can have high quality therapists for the future health of our human race. Don't have people monocoddling each other whilst they rebirth themselves and I hug you. Like, really?
Yeah, and it's just for me having the association. I mean, we're talking about the associations now. For me, it's about protecting the community, from people that could cause harm. I mean, even
the snake oils.
Police check. I mean, I would be devastated if someone in HNZ I found out was harmful to.
And the reality is, we don't know what people like to secretly do behind closed doors. How many times have you seen those cases on the news where they were a school teacher and they were a pedophile? That person with that fetish and that desire of malevolence had gotten into that industry with some form of intention of harm. We can't tell you what's going to go on behind closed doors, but at least with those police checks, we've got something.
And so it helps, like we're able to say that, hey, these members were completely 100% happy to do their first aid. They were completely 100% happy to get a police check, even because I know I had a lot of people saying to me, I don't need to do a police check because it's clear, and I'm like, but it's not about violating people's trust or privacy. It's just about having it there so that people know that if you're on that page, that you're safe for the people that feel unsafe in the world. Do you know what I mean? The people that
is, like you say, violation of trust. That's why we need these things, because people violate trust. If people were just good people, good moral people, don't steal stuff, don't abuse people, don't hit other people.
Put the shopping trolley back into the trolley thing.
Is that normal?
Leaving it in the road, that's my annoying thing, instead of leaving it where people are going to hit it with the cars. It's my level of
like, if you just be a good, decent person, put your meat back in the fridge when you get it from the grocery store so that they're not having to dump it. We don't need these trust things in place. We don't need cameras. And that brings us to an old story. Now, you have to check up the exact data on this, but that's why money was originally invented, because there were so many trade agreements going on that nobody knew the real value of these trade agreements. And value is just what we perceive it to be. $1 to me may have different value to $1 to you. But we needed an overarching currency in order to trade goods, because trust was being broken. That's why we have the police checks in place, because sure, there could be something bigger going on, but if we get a police check and it's like, hey, you've done your time, you've done your crime, okay, there's nothing we can do. We can't judge from that. But at least we have the paperwork in place, because the trust was broken somewhere. And it comes back to that courage to be disliked scenario. Do you have the courage to go in a different direction and go, you know what? I don't want to be a dentist anymore. I want to be a florist. Do you have the courage to give that up and go and be that florist? Do you have the courage to stand up to someone and go, look, no, that's not right. Let's work out how to make it right or how to amend this.
Yeah.
Do you have that courage? Because it's the hardest emotion in the world, because you know the floor is going to be lava.
Yeah. And even in a client setting, you know, what we were talking about earlier with rapport and being disliked, you know, in a setting where maybe you have got really good rapport with a client, but you know they're wanting to come and see you, and you know that you can't actually help them anymore.
Yes.
You know, having to let them down and say, look, we're going to have to, or, you know, this is our last session now, and I've got this really good person I'm going to send you on to, and you know, having to end kind of that client therapist.
Yeah, because your resources are different to somebody else's.
Yeah. Even break that rapport for the good of the client so that they can actually get the help that they need, because you can't. I mean, that in itself is a place that takes courage as well. And for some people, you know, for some people they don't, and it ends up not that good either. So,
and it's also about like eliminating the built-up resentment. So I'll use John as a beautiful example here. So John's one of these people that if his meal comes out wrong, he won't say anything. He'll just carry on about it and then have the meal and then carry on about it as we go to the car. And then the next time we go back there, he'll carry on about it like, oh, remember we came here last time, blah, blah, blah. When me, I'll look at it and go, no, not quite right, and send it back. And then they get it right. And what that does is that alleviates any form of resentment, because sure, I'm going to remember that they buggered up that last time, but it's not going to be sitting there stewing away and then mounting, building to more resentment.
Yeah.
This is just that one time.
Yeah, and then the mind will link it to every other time you haven't got something right, and then something that can be as little as maybe not being right becomes this big, huge.
Yeah, it's you know, like they say, the grain of salt that breaks the camel's back, and you're just like, whoa,
where did that come from? Trigger.
What the fuck? Because you've been building this resentment, and the courage to be disliked. It really, really takes some self-esteem, and you don't have to be an asshole about it. Like, you don't have to go back to the counter and throw your drink in the waitress' face or something like that. All you need to do is go back and go, oh, I asked for no ice. Is that okay? And then they'll go, yeah, end of the story.
Yeah. If we get into marketing, like this conversation could even go on to marketing, the courage to be disliked. You imagine if you could put that to the side and not care what people think, and just go out there.
The guy that started releasing the whiteboards with the word fuck on it. And he did this.
Sure. I do love that there's a guy that does either balloons or he does something with lots of.
Yeah. And he just writes, and he just goes, the reason why you're fat is because you eat too much fucking food. And I'm like, yep.
Oh, there's one hypnotherapist like that, and he's actually, when you watch him, he's amazing with his clients. But it'll be a certain kind of client that needs that. But boy, he's a legend to watch, because you can see how actually building that resistance is I think I said it to you ages ago, there's actually a therapy where you tell the person what they're thinking themselves. You know what I mean? If they're thinking bad things about themselves, you actually give it to them, and it makes them rethink things.
To roll it.
I've
done that with my clients, but I usually get them to do it inside of a mirror, so they're talking to themselves at the mirror, and that's to get the core emotion to really come out and it to be felt before we alleviate it.
Yeah.
And move on. So yeah, do you have the courage to be disliked? Because trust me, if you recline back your chair on an airplane,
you will be disliked.
Dislike you. I will dislike you. So yeah,
I don't have that courage.
So thank you everybody for joining in today, and don't be afraid to be disliked. Just do it in a nice way. Soft approach. Okay. All right, lovelies. We'll see everybody in a fortnight. Bye-bye.